This episode is sponsored by Squarespace.
Welcome back to the workshop. It's a pleasure to have you here while we're restoring
The massy steam hammer that's currently in pieces, with an anvil set beneath a decapitated Bridgeport.
We left you halfway through the milling of this dovetail here.
And so that's exactly what we're gonna get down to tackling.
I think that's all we can do with this cutter in this position. I've made a mark to tell me exactly how far down I need to go before I need to stop.
And the reason I need to stop and can't keep going is very important, and I'll tell you after we play a little game. What has Alec bought this time? Ooh! In case you don't know, it's my favorite game. Oh yeah! What I like to do when I'm in a project is buy the tool that would have been ideal for a task after I have to make do without it. Seems to be the order of things. These are plunge-style indicators, and they differ from the type that you see me use all the time. This has a little finger, whereas this has a plunger. So I finally bought the bullet and bought a pair of these in varying ranges, because there's sometimes a type of task that this is more appropriate than that. How about this? That right there. A little face mill with round inserts. I've only ever owned face mills with triangular inserts, but one of the tips I got from John at Massey Forging is that I might be able to sneak up on the radius for our dovetails by using one of these. More! The very astute amongst you will have realized when I was using these end mills, they're not as big as they could be, which means they're not as rigid. That's because I didn't have a 20mm collet. Well, now I do, which means that we can put the chunky end mills in if we have to.
We also got more end mills.
An adorable, small little indexing end mill, and something that would have proved very useful when leveling the anvil, a set of feeler gauges. That's it for show and tell. Back to the mill. So this is the reason we had to stop.
Having a sharp corner like that could make a stress concentration that could break the dovetail off the die.
And so what we want is a nice smooth transition. We want a radius in there. And this is one of John's great suggestions, which is to nibble away with a round-tipped cutter.
To slowly eat that material away, because right now it looks like this. All that has to go. Oh, but actually now, is our surface finish up to snuff? Yeah, scratch that. Before I swap this tool out, I've just realized that we're probably going to need to straighten out the head of the mill to be able to cut this little radius, which means that we'll lose the angle of the quill that would be required to clean up this face. I think I should do a final cleanup of this face.
And that is exactly what we're gonna use our new 20mm collet and 20mm end mills for.
Alrighty, that is one half of our dovetails pretty much done there. Now you see there's a radius right here, but the astute will notice that that radius is not exactly the radius of the 16mm cutter that we just used. In fact, it's a little bit larger. I wanted a slightly larger radius, and the way that we achieved that was by nibbling away with this little thing until we roughed out enough material that we could nibble away with that little guy to have some semblance of a larger radius. And I will do a little bit of blending, probably with an angle grinder and a flat disc, just to make it super pretty. This very bottom is also going to need to get touched up right at the end when we're done with this side.
Now what I would love is if I had a little bit more clearance on this tool, because I could have used one of these to nibble out the corner of the dovetail.
But as you'll see, there's only so much of it that we can actually do before we run into clearance issues with the rest of the dovetail.
With that, it is now time to do the other side.
I must say, I'm absolutely loving this round-tipped face mill. It's doing a fabulous job, taking good chips, and this was quite an expedient set of cuts. Only took a whole morning.
Cutting these dovetails seems like an endless proposition. It's just taken me hours and hours and hours, but you know what wouldn't take me hours and hours and hours? Building a beautiful Squarespace website. And I want to tell you about some of the product updates that they have that could be so useful for your business So hear me out. As you know, it's an awesome website building platform that allows absolutely anybody, regardless of their computer skills, to be able to build a beautiful website. But it's becoming so much more. If you have a service-based business and you send invoices to your clients, you can now do it from within Squarespace. You can make a beautiful invoice that your clients can then pay with Apple Pay and all the other regular payment options that Squarespace has. And giving people the option to pay right there and then when they open the invoice is going to help you get paid faster. Not only do you build your website, not only can you buy your domain there, you can sell unlimited physical or digital products, sell your time with Squarespace scheduling, run your email marketing campaigns, and now sending invoices. Keeping it all in one place, on brand. How sick. Go to squarespace.com/forge. You're gonna get a 2-week free trial. You can try it, see if you like it. And when you do, using code FORGE at checkout will get you 10% off your first purchase. That includes your domain purchase, and supporting them helps support us and allows us to do stupid things like decapitating Bridgeports. So thank you, Squarespace, and thank you, guys. Let's get back to the video. Now you'll note, I obviously can't go all the way down to the bottom level there. Otherwise, the other end of the cutter will be making a cut here. Let's clean up this inside face before twisting the head back to vertical and beginning to blend this area down. This may have been too heavy of a cut. Sounds like bloody A10 warthog in here, you know what I mean? So we have nibbled away a chunky little radius here. It looks good. It looks quite similar to the other side. The dovetails are there, but you might have noticed the base is pretty rough. Well, my final objective on this is to plane across with that little round tip end mill and just make a really nice flat surface here at the bottom, taking off like 0.2 of a millimeter, if not 0.1, if we can get away with it. But time is a little bit of the essence, and it's very soon going to be time to make our bottom die. We need to make it out of steel, Jamie. I don't have that steel. You need 160 mil tall, 230 wide, 140 deep, but I got to find a place that sells it because it's just a block of steel I need. I don't need a big long bar of this. That would be ridiculous. Found on eBay a place that sells offcuts of EN24 and EN19. That's 4340 and 4140 respectively, which would make a really fine die steel for this. I'm gonna try and give him a call. Hello there, I'm after a block of steel. Superb, thank you so much. Look forward to getting your email. Thanks, bye. That's nuts. This place will custom cut a block of steel in 2 days. Oh! Let's now machine the bottom of that dovetail. Got the base machined out, ended up not using the round insert face mill. I actually wasn't liking the surface finish it was providing. I think I'm perhaps learning that these things excel when they're able to take a nice heavy cut and really cut on the side of it, but cutting straight down, trying to take a minute cut. I don't think we had the pressure to take proper chips, so we ended up getting it done with the pointy triangular inserts. But that means that we do have a little bit more of a lip to blend with an angle grinder than I was hoping. We're gonna deal with that later, because I wanna finish off everything we've got to do on the mill. Next up, we're gonna whack a hole in this thing, right in the middle. This is for us to be able to have an indexing pin to make sure that our bottom die never slides backwards or forwards, but always rides neatly in the correct spot. Very grateful to have had that tip from, of course, Mr. John Nicholson. And then once we've got that hole drilled, on this side here, we are going to mill and then grind nice chunky radius. We only need to do that on one side, because over here, on this side, we're gonna have a key. So let's get to it. That is very clearly a dull drill bit. Oy. Let's sharpen that, folks. You know, I was reading some comments and folks were saying that you're not meant to cut cast iron with coolant. I don't know if that's the same as not cutting it with cutting oil, but I've been trying it. Not sure how happy I am with it. Do like to try and keep an open mind. But that's making some very ugly noises about a little cutting oil, eh? Now for cast iron, that is really cutting poorly. That's 45. Change your plans. I think that's it with the mill. At last. It only took us 4 weeks to do something that a real machine shop could have done in 4 hours. But you know what we've done? We've done the unthinkable. We have turned this Bridgeport into a contortionist yogi master, and the dovetails are bloody well cut.
There was a lot of people actually asking why I had to be so precise.
I think it'd be quite nice to do as good of a job as we can, so that's kind of it.
People really like the idea of trying to make something out of this.
I do too, but the thing is, I don't know if we can make canister Damascus from cast iron chips, because there's a lot of carbon in it, and cast iron isn't something you can forge. Maybe that should be the first thing we try with the power hammer, making something from itself. Time to say goodbye to our decapitated mill, put it back together in the right side of the workshop. Here we go! And so the dovetail is done. You'll also notice that we no longer have our delightful monstrosity. Jamie and I lugged the thing back to its proper corner in the workshop, where we did what we've been meaning to do for a while. We drilled holes, installed bolts, and leveled the thing. It is as sturdy as I have ever had a Bridgeport, so that makes me quite happy. It's good to be doing things like that.
It's really weird as well, like how vertical it is.
You're absolutely right. Firstly, it feels really, really, really tall. Like it just grew a few inches, or I shrunk a few inches.
It's like it was made to be horizontal instead of vertical.
Yeah, it's exactly what we were thinking. Anyway. Next step on the power hammer, this is the important stuff. It's not about mounting Bridgeports, it's about mounting power hammers. We've gone ahead and cleaned up the mounting surfaces a little bit where the frame attaches, because this side is just so rusted. And we're also going to need to clean up the underside of the frame, because of course it's also rusted. But not only do we have to clean them up, we also have to work out what on earth is going on with our bolts. Because have a look at this funny boy. This one I couldn't drive out. And it appears to be thinner, thicker, even thicker, and then thinner with a much smaller thread than it appears it originally had. A little bit confusing. Also, the nut that was on here was smaller than the nuts on the rest of the bolts, so I wonder if maybe there was some sort of stripped thread situation, so they then took it out, turned it down, and put a smaller thread on it. Maybe that's what they did. But either way, we've got to do a little bit of investigation about the bolts, do some cleaning, clean up that puppy, because the plan is right now, I want that on top of this, bolted down and secure. And with the base out of the way. Right, we're trying to put the cylinder back on and it won't go. It is jammed and it is catching way in there. And what it looks like is this frame is now closer in together than it was beforehand. How on earth could that possibly happen? Gigantic bit of cast iron. Well, it's because it's actually 2 bits of cast iron held at the correct spacing and correct angle by just these 2 little pins. And so it's very possible that stuff kind of flexes and moves about. And yeah, we've definitely experienced that. So what I now need to do is find a way to spread this cast iron enough that that drops down. Let's see what we can do. We definitely can't use one of them.
What about a car jack? Have you got a jack in the back of your car?
A car jack?
Yeah.
Alright, oh, have a look at that. It's gonna go. That didn't take much at all. Oh my goodness, could have done that by hand. Right, cylinder's back on top. What I want to be able to do now is be able to install the piston and the ram. I've got to fill in this dead space, you know what I mean? But the ram itself isn't finished being restored. And we did make a little bit of progress. We haven't made all the progress because we need this die to be able to sit in there nicely. We need a die key, and the bottom of this is all a bit of a mess, so that's got to get put in the mill for some machining. What a novel idea. How about we do a little bit of restoring of dovetails? We've never done that before, have we, Jamie? I'm bloody chuffed to bits with how the top die is now looking. It is even to the ram. All that needs is a die key, and then it can go back in the power hammer. Super excited to get this front end back together. Jamie has taken it upon himself to begin wire wheeling this thing, and it is looking beautiful. I also received this bad boy in the mail, this gigantic lump of beautiful steel, which means we can get stuck into making our bottom die. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and when I started this project, I thought I had made an enormous mistake, and I was very, very scared. But I think that now I will and truly have hope. Thank you all so much for your help in the comments. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Squarespace for allowing us to be able to undertake this in the first place. See you soon. Bye.